Hello, and in today's video, I want to explore the transformational path that moves from codependency to freedom. And so let's begin by really exploring what is codependency and how does this pattern show up in business and in life. Codependency is a very sneaky pattern because it can when you're in it create a very sticky situation where you yourself are the root of your own victimhood. So you'll know that you're in a codependent pattern when you are blaming somebody or putting responsibility outside of yourself for the emotions that you are feeling. So when you find yourself saying things like, you did this, so you make me feel, or I was really happy, but you did this and now I'm not. This is a form of codependency because you're not taking 100% responsibility for your own emotions. And people can get very addicted to this pattern because it puts the spotlight out of you yourself and being the empowered one who can actually unwind it and use the situation as a portal for leaping into a new level of personal power. um, you project outwards. It's easier to throw it out rather than look within. And it can show up not just in relational situations, it can actually show up in your money, it can show up in any situation that you hold yourself back or you compromise yourself in some way from what is actually in integrity for you. So I'll give you an example of how I did this. Y- uh, Taking for example, it could be working with a client and that client being 100% aligned, or that client overcoming about or sort of pushing a boundary that you haven't set. And because you haven't set it, you project the blame outwards onto them and make them the villain, when really the opportunity here is for you to look at, where do I need to look at my pattern? Where do I need to look at my boundaries? Where do I need to reevaluate what is going to serve me in the highest possible way so that I can then serve others? Because what will happen and what happens for me is that when I see myself in a codependent pattern, I'm in depletion. The moment I compromise myself on a physical level, a resource level, a sort of a moral level, so any of these ways that we can understand the word integrity, because integrity is really about being congruent in alignment with what is true for you. So when we say resource integrity, what I'm talking about is, am I overcommitting? Am I overgiving? Am I giving away my resources? Do I have the physical, energetic resources to carry out this thing that I've agreed to, or whatever it happens to be? When we look at moral integrity, you should have a clear set of values that you operate with, and obviously we've got personal values and principles, and then we've got the universal laws and those levels of principles. And where does your choice or where does your action fit into that? And that's the integrity on a moral level. So for example, if you are somebody who doesn't pay tax because you think, oh, the rich, and why should I pay tax because they're already avoiding it? So that's your value. Your choice is not to pay the tax. That's your level of integrity for you. Whether that's aligned with universal law of what we give, we receive, etc., doesn't matter. But the point is, what I'm trying to explain is, where codependency can play out in many different situations in multiple ways. Another way that I was forced to move out of a codependent pattern is situational. When you find yourself in situations or in your own comfort zone. So at some point when my business wasn't making consistent, it wasn't that my business wasn't making consistent money. It was that I intuitively needed or wanted the time to build something. So I signed on to universal credit, and it's what we have in this country. So it's basically a form of getting money, and you would offset it against any income that your business made. But very, very soon, I started to feel the internal edge within me wanting to reject that choice because it was pushing against my desire for sovereignty. It was pushing against my my soul's what it was doing. It was showing me where I was in limitation. It was showing me where I was operating from a place of lack, because really what the belief was that I couldn't command the money that I needed to actually build my, well, to have a high level of financial resource from the work that I was doing. And so I gave my power away, and and rather than put a bet on myself and trust myself, and also trust my ability as a creator to attract and magnetize and create the financial resources in my business, I found myself in a codependent, my pattern played out in that way so that I would be in my comfort zone. So we see it in situations, we see it in relationships, we see it in life. So let's look at a codependent pattern in a relationship. We've already spoken about this. We've said when we start to blame others for how somebody makes me feel. If you are giving somebody else that level of power, then again, I'm in my pattern. So just look around and say, see, where are you finding yourself eh, giving your power away, and where is codependency playing out for you? And as soon as you notice, you can unwind that pattern and take back your power. Now, we could talk about codependency in burnout situations, in overcommitting, and all of this really comes down to that open will center. And what I want to do is a series of videos talking about how we can really decondition and unwind those patterns to step deeply into a level of personal power. In the comments, let me know if there's any questions or if there's any personal experiences that you've had with codependency. And if you are ready to go into a 6-month deep dive, I am open now for initiation, which is a 6-month one-to-one, high ticket, high level mentorship container for women who are already really materially successful, but you find yourself wanting to create from a place of flow over force, and you're wanting to release old conditioning and old patterns that keep you driven and in a place of not being able to relax and to trust and unwind and connect with your innate knowing and connect with the laws of nature so that you can create in a very powerful way rather than forcing your way through life. You can start to align and leverage your design and start to look at how you can create high levels of prosperity, high levels of flow, high levels of wealth, but from a very empowered place that seeps out into all levels of your relationships. It seeps into your personal relationships, into your business, into your quality of life. I am here to help you step into the path of your heart, release and face your fears so that you can step into higher levels of courage, higher levels of commitment, and higher levels of service in a very aligned way.